Good evening, welcome to the channel. You find me in the workshop at Churston Golf Club. For long-term viewers, you'll know that I use a longer putter. I arm lock when I putt. Well, today I'm going to make the world's smallest legal putter. I'm Lester Bernie Barnes, this is my YouTube channel, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I had to look at the rules of golf really to understand about length of putter, and it seems there's no limit to how long your putter is. It's just the way you hold the putter and the way you use the putter that makes it legal or illegal. So you could easily turn up with a 60 or 70 inch putter. However, there is a legal limit on how short your putter is. And this might surprise you, but the shortest putter you're allowed to legally use in competitive golf is 18 inches. So I thought to myself, why not ruin a perfectly good putter and let's create an 18-inch putter to see whether one, it's physically possible to putt with it, and two, to see whether it actually works. And I know this is the type of content that keeps bringing you back to the channel. The inspiration for this video is a guy, well, Canadian pro who played in the Canadian PGA Championship, and there was quite a lot of social media attention about him using this particularly short putter. However, he did respond to such posts saying it was actually his putter was 23-24 inches, so not quite as extreme as 18 inches as was previously reported. However, I'm going to now turn this putter into an 18-inch putter, explain how we do it, explain some of the issues of making a putter so small, and then we're going to give it a go. We may even game it in a course vlog. What might surprise you that Philip actually shot under par using this particular putter, which for me is absolutely crazy. First things first, I've just found, and I'll show you this to the camera quite close, an old Slazenger putter, which I think I bought from Sports Direct. So I'm not going to use a really good putter, and I'm not really bothered that I'm probably going to ruin this putter. So that's the first thing, really old putter. I know we're going to alter the lie angle by cutting it down. When you cut a club down, you change the lie angle, you make the putter flatter. But because we're dealing with such an extreme case and a very small putter, I don't think the lie angle is going to matter that much. So that's the first thing, a really old putter. We can't save the grip, because if you imagine that grip here, which is a standard men's grip, will need to go down into this section. So the grip will be way too big for the shaft. So we're going to cut it down to 18 inches to start with, and that is 18 inches. So what you do is you measure it from the actual centre of the club, like that, and go up the shaft. So 18 inches, I don't know if you can see that, through the middle of the club here up to here will be there. Okay, the grip will add like a quarter of an inch. I'm going to go slightly under 18 inches to make sure that we actually do create the world's smallest putter. Shaft cutters, just some pipe cutters actually. So there you go, into there like that. Pop the pipe cutters on, just going to slowly turn. It gets a bit harder when you cut further down a shaft, because the shaft is actually thicker and more solid as you get further down towards the club head. Just going to keep turning. Hopefully you can see that, and it should eventually snap off. Try and get the camera right. That is bang on 18 inches. And already looking at it, it looks so small, and it looks like I'm going to get a bad back just trying to use that, even hitting a few putts. And this is probably a young man's experiment, but we're going to give it a go anyway. If you don't subscribe to the channel, then please hit that subscribe button. I've just ruined the putter, and I might need to have to pay for some physiotherapy to actually get myself back and get the posture right after actually doing this little experiment. So hit that subscribe button. A couple of issues straight away, which I didn't really think about too much at the time, was that I'm going to have to get a very small and thin grip to go onto this. I'm just going to check as well now whether I can put a round grip on, because that might be easier to use a junior round grip, or whether I actually have to have a flat surface on one of the sides of the putter. I'm not too sure the rules and how that's changed over the last couple of years, so we'll just check that out quickly off camera. Also as well, it feels very head heavy. Obviously there's not a lot of shaft there. That might affect performance. I'm expecting to be decent on the short putts. It's easy to hit the centre of the club when you move closer to the actual club head with any particular golf club. So I'm thinking it's going to be quite good on short putts. Maybe the long putts we're going to struggle to get distance control with it being so close to the ground, but we'll have to look at that and check that out when we use it. Just check the rule out, and you can have a circular or round grip on your putter, so that might actually help me out a little bit. I think trying to find a small enough putter grip to go on here might be impossible, but let's have a little look. I'll come back to you in a minute and show you what grip we've chosen and some of the actual things and modifications we're going to have to do to be able to actually fit that particular grip to this particular short putter. First things first, we're going to add quite a lot of thickening tape. This is just, I use just cheap duct tape, so we're going to try and really thicken the shaft up. This could take quite a bit of tape. It doesn't obviously have to be perfect because I'm only making this for myself, obviously, so just applied a layer of tape on under it, going a little bit over taping because we don't want to finish a little bit short of the end of the grip and then there's movement. So that's where it's generally, sorry about that, generally going to move. So just applying more and more tape. We're going to apply more at the bottom than the top, I think, generally, because as a shaft gets shorter and as you go down the shaft towards the club head, the shafts are very much tapered, so they're thinner here and thicker up the top. So we're going to need more tape, I believe, down the bottom to actually keep that in place. So I'm just going to add some more tape and I'll come back to you. Right, so I think I'm at a point now where that is almost going to be thick enough. I'm going to add some grip tape now, a few extra layers as well, I think, to the actual grip. Again, this will just help to thicken the shaft and where the grip is going to go underneath, but I feel like this is almost thick enough. It feels as thick now as what you'd need, or what you'd have, sorry, when you regrip a normal iron or a normal wood, so shouldn't have too much problem with getting a grip on. He says confidently. So just going to fill the gap in. I might go and add an extra layer. Don't think it can be too thick. Obviously, if I was making this for a junior and he wanted a really short putter, then the grip now would be way too thick for them. So, but as I say, grown man, not a mature man, a grown man. And now you'll probably see that that is considerably thicker than the shaft. So that should, I will just measure it against a grip. So we've over taped. You see that there's some tape coming out the bottom of the grip. We can tidy that up afterwards, that's not a problem. I've managed to find a slightly newer one. It's also bright red as well, because if you're putting with a putter of this length, you obviously want to stand out even more by putting a very colourful grip on. So I'm just going to insert the grip now, pop it in the vise. That. Make sure the club head is square. Add some white spirit. I'm going to add quite a lot of white spirit here, because if you don't add enough, the grip will not slide on. So the more the better. So insert into the grip, give it a good swig around, and then just literally pour the white spirit over the grip. So and now we'll try and get this grip on. Like I said, they are quite old grips. Actually, it's sliding on quite well, actually. Yeah, it's fine. Could have done with gripping it even further down, put more tape on. There you go, just going to wipe that with a cloth. Almost like a standard grip size, maybe a fraction fatter, which is fine. Probably use a little bit too much tape, but it's better to have too much tape than not enough tape. It feels okay, feels quite heavy still in the head, even though we've added a lot of tape and a lot of weight to the top section of the putter. Because of the length of the shaft being so short, it just feels very much sort of club head heavy. Shouldn't be a massive issue. So I'm going to let that dry for a couple of hours, and then we're going to have a few putts and have a little bit of practice with it, and then just give it a little bit of feedback on this particular putter. So I've hit a few putts on the putting green, done probably 10 minutes in total. Firstly, it looks absolutely ridiculous. I had 2 or 3 people come up to me and say, "What are you doing?" Generally I do get that quite a lot though in my life, but this seemed to be more than more than sort of usual. And I don't think long term I could use this putter without doing a lot of stretching, a lot of exercises, because I just don't think my back would physically take getting into that position for sort of 34, 35 shots per round of golf, and each time being in that position for 20 to 30 seconds. I just don't think that as anybody over their age of 40 would be able to long term use this putter. And I can see why the guy has decided to have a slightly longer putter now than he had previously, because he's approaching 50 years of age. Another issue I found is for long putts, it's really hard to sort of generate a big enough backstroke and generate enough clubhead speed to actually hit a putt over sort of 25 foot with any degree of accuracy. I'm not saying that I couldn't get used to it, and probably could develop more consistency with the more I use this particular club. However, early signs were from distance it was not great. Also, being so close to the ground and being sort of your eye line sort of 20-22 inches off the ground, I found it really hard to judge the distance, and I had to have 3 or 4 looks at the hole just to give myself an idea of where I was actually putting to, which again for me is not ideal. I like to have a couple of putts, a couple of looks. I'm a relatively quick player, so I felt that using this putter on the longer distance putts, I was taking longer to actually line myself up and feel comfortable before actually striking the putt. Another issue I found is that when you put your putter in the golf bag, obviously the handle gets nowhere near the bottom, and quite often it falls right into the bag. So you've got to try and almost rescue the putter from the bottom of the bag. It's okay when there's not a lot in your bag, but if you've got a full bag and that putter falls down into the very bottom of it, you're going to end up emptying your golf bag, taking time, probably get very frustrated with the fact that you can't get your hands straight on it. So there's another issue with having such a short putter. You'd almost need like an extra pocket where you can actually put the putter in, or maybe one of those clips that clips on the side of your bag, so the putter is not actually in the main section. As well, cutting such a lot of length off the club, although we've added quite a considerable amount of tape under the grip and we've got quite a thick grip now, the weighting is completely wrong with this particular club. We've not even mentioned the lie angle. We're having to feel like we're standing sort of further away from the ball as well to try and get that club almost flat on the ground. I know it's a cheap putter, so that probably doesn't help, and the lie angle and the way the club sat originally probably wasn't great either, but I just feel that I'm almost stretching for this putter to try and get that club head square on the ground, which again is not ideal. Right, enough of the negatives, let's just talk about a few of the positives, and there was quite a few positives actually from using a putter of this length. The first being on short putts, I felt really confident. Being that close to the ground, I felt I had more control of the club head on the shorter putts, and I felt like my stroke was less shaky, was less jerky, and was a lot smoother. Inside 5 feet, I definitely think this would be an upgrade on the putter I currently use, but outside of 5 feet, definitely not. I also like the fact, because the putter's so short, I was almost extending my arms fully out and creating a nice triangle sort of between my 2 arms and my chest, and I felt like I was almost rocking the chest rather than relying on smaller muscles to actually dictate the stroke. So I felt like it was more solid and less wristy, which again is something I struggle with face rotation and being very wristy. So definitely an improvement in that aspect of the putting stroke. In conclusion, I'm someone who has experimented with length of putter over the years. I've had sort of 30-inch putters in my bag. I've had your traditional standard 34, 35-inch putters. I've used long putters like the one I currently game, which is the arm lock putter, which is considerably longer and in the 40 inches than anything I've previously used. However, this is too extreme. My back wouldn't allow me to putt long term with this. I do, however, believe that a lot of people are putting with putters that are too long, and maybe taking an inch and a half off their putter would make a considerable difference to the way they putt. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Remember to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and comment below.